Meg. Today we're going to go through some postures that you can add to your vinyasa sequence. Yoga is really good for the physical body, but it's also great for the heart and the mind. Life happens and things don't always go the way that we necessarily planned for them to go. And so the chatter that's happening in our head isn't always aligned with what our intention is in our heart. And yoga can better align the body with the heart and the mind. And so these postures can help you to do that. We'll first come into our bridge, lie on the floor, bring the heels in as close to the sitting bones as possible. You'll see that I'm touching the backs of the heels with the tips of my fingertips. You're going to shift the knees forward as you lift the hips high, working the shoulder blades underneath the back and interlacing your fingers. In bridge, you're stretching the chest, neck, and spine. You're also calming the brain, which helps to alleviate stress and mild depression. It stimulates the abdominal organs, lungs, and thyroid, as well as improves digestion. It also helps to relieve the symptoms of menopause, and when done with a supported block underneath your sitting bones, can relieve menstrual discomfort. If that wasn't enough, it helps to reduce anxiety, fatigue, backache, headache, and insomnia. You can come into your bridge for 10 to 30 seconds, beginning to build strength over time and increasing the duration. To come out, you'll bring your feet wide on the mat, knees together, and then you can hug your knees into your chest, give yourself a little bit of a squeeze. In addition to some of the other benefits we discussed, it's also therapeutic for asthma, high blood pressure, osteoporosis, and sinusitis. Next, we're going to come into wheels, so you'll have your feet aligned the same way and close to your sitting bones. Bend your elbows and spread your palms on the floor beside your head, forearms perpendicular to the floor and fingers pointing towards the shoulders. Press your feet actively into the floor and lift up through your wheel. Just like in your bridge, keep thighs and inner feet parallel as you push strongly through the hands. As you begin to build strength over time, wheel is going to strengthen your arms, wrists, legs, buttocks, abdomen, and spine. You can hold the posture for 10 to 30 seconds again. In this case, I'm going to be holding it for a little bit over a minute. One of the beautiful things that we can find in wheel is really our connection to our physical practice and that idea of progress. The more that we practice, the longer that we can hold it. We're stretching the chest and the lungs, stimulating the thyroid and pituitary. It also helps to increase energy and can counteract depression. Feeling strong in your wheel, if you come into it for 10 to 30 seconds and come out, that's absolutely okay because you can always work your way back into it in order to build strength over time. As I mentioned, we're holding it for a minute here. I'm actively working in my practice towards holding it for 3 minutes. You'll come out of your bridge the same way. You'll come out of your wheel the same way that you came out of your bridge. A couple additional benefits here that it's therapeutic for asthma, back pain, osteoporosis, and even infertility. After we move out of our bridge, we're going to come to our downward facing dog. So coming into your downward facing dog next, you want to make sure that your feet are hips width distance apart. Your hands are going to spread your fingertips wide. Your middle finger will be pointing forward. You're going to lift up through the chest to straighten the back. In order to come into pigeon, inhale your right foot high to a three-legged dog, and then step the right ankle to the left wrist. The left leg reaches back straight on the mat. Now, different variations for pigeon. We're going to stay with just the simple version of this for the sake of today. If you find that your hip is off of the ground, I welcome you to please use a block or a folded blanket to provide additional support here. You can either stay upright on your hands if this is deep enough, or if you want to take the posture a little bit deeper, you can fold forward, coming onto your forearms, and maybe even lowering your head onto the ground. In pigeon, we're increasing hip flexibility, improving posture and alignment, reducing low back pain. You're stretching the thighs, glutes, and piriformis muscles. Use your inhales and exhales to really breathe into the hips here and start to loosen up some of the tightness that you might be feeling in the body. To come back out, we'll step back to a three-legged dog, lift the right hip and open. Come into it on the left side the same way that we did on the right, this time bringing the left ankle to the right wrist. The left shin is going to run parallel with the front of the mat, and the right foot reaches back. I tend to see this beautiful sense of relaxation and calm that washes over my students' face when they practice pigeon. And a part of it is because the primal reaction is to store stress, trauma, fear, and anxiety in the hips when things happen in our life that we can't necessarily control. And when it comes back to controlling how we react to those situations, releasing pent-up feelings that we might have in our hips is a good start towards that road. And so breathing into our hips, it helps us to release these bottled up feelings that we might be holding on to and create space for what it is that we really intend in our life, and to have the space for greater abundance in our world. And whatever those emotions are that you're letting go of, consider maybe as you're exhaling those to utilize your inhales to breathe in the opposite. So if you're releasing fear, breathe in courage. If you're releasing stress, breathe in calm. And we'll step back to a three-legged dog to work our way out of it, returning the same way that we started into our downward dog. And next we're going to move into our child's pose, which is a resting posture. We'll have our knees on the floor, big toes to touch, sit back on the heels, separate the knees as wide as the hips, exhale and lay your torso down between your thighs. Lengthen the torso as you reach your hands forward. In child's pose, we're stretching the hips, thighs, and ankles, calming the brain to relieve stress and fatigue. We're relieving back and neck pain, especially when done with the head and torso supported. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that this helps to bring greater happiness into your life. Namaste.